withdrawn from the boarding house, and these are the reasons, or this is the reason. So their names were called. I'll spare them.
Yeah, spare them the names.
And then, so it says that the students had the impudence to steal the goat of the housemaster.
Housemaster.
Yes. The goat. On the day it was brought and tied up, the students remarked that the goat would not see the next day. True to their words, the goat never saw the following day.
And what happened to the goat? They finished it.
They finished it.
Did they replace the goat?
No. You know, I remember when we were in high school, some of the guys stole the headmaster's fowl.
And not the ladies.
No, the ladies don't do that. It's the guys. Eric, I know for sure you did something like that, but he's hiding right now.
As for mangoes and
Abrofun
Katia and sugar cane, I remember there was a day we were going for inter-schools. And, you know,
confession
around that time, those of us at a disco, if the inter-schools was being held at Infantipim School, you either join the school bus or we call it Appian Way. There's a bush path behind the armory, and then you climb the hill, and then when you just descend, you come across Infantipim School Park. And on that stretch are farms, sugarcane farms. And we didn't board the vehicle because we went to steal sugarcane. And what we do is we just step on the base, break it, just go to the trunk, break it, and then you put one or two in your pocket. Sometimes we hide it by the side of our trousers. And then we keep chewing. And we met this old man. He knew that some students will come and steal sugarcane. He caught us. And he treated us well.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he gave us some cutlass to just weed the path from the farm to the next farm. And then he gave the sugarcane to us. It was an adventure. It was an adventure. These days, the young boys of these days, when they go to school, so much, so many
computerization, so they don't have any story.
The people must be hard, though.
They
must be hard.
So throw back your stories. What are some of the funny moments you had in high school? Let us know, and we might just, you know, read some out.
This morning, we have a lot to share with you. Of course, the debate on the State of the Nation address is on. And if you have been following the sad incident on Sunday, we understand that the 13 children will be buried today. There will be a mass burial. Our reporter has been on the ground, Nana Tewia, and he showed us coffins which were quickly being put together to be able to lower these bodies into the grave. The president, we also know, has also made some donation, 20,000 to this particular funeral. 6,000 will go for the payment of the mortuary fees. Each of the bereaved families will get 1,000 cedis, and I think it's a good gesture. This is a poor community. What is lost cannot be replaced by the money, but it is a good effort, and I believe that several other people within that enclave should be also able to support.
I actually do hope that they are getting the survivors of this incident counseling, because it's very necessary.
It's very traumatizing. And even the parents, you know, yesterday you talked about two children, a boy and a girl, whose parents are in the UK, and they only woke up to this news about APAM. And then a few searches revealed that their own children are dead. They can't come to Ghana today for the funeral, but the bodies are gone.
That the very last time they saw their children was the last time they were in this country.
And that is very sad. That is very sad.
Oh, my goodness. Now, we need to lighten the mood. So we'll take our inspirational message from Obobia Dakun Opoku and take our weather report as well.
Hello, and it is always a delight to come your way with Pause for 3. My name, as always, is Obobia Dakun Opoku. Can you tell your future? I'm asking because the future looks like everyone's dream. It is a place everyone seems to find themselves living the best of their lives. Not many people will exert lots of energy on today like they do with the future in perspective. People look up to the future with amazing imaginations of themselves living a certain lifestyle, which is very different from their current lifestyle. Have you not imagined yourself driving a better car than you have now, or imagining a holiday trip? The power to imagine is an absolutely incredible gift God planted in us. Once put in use, life will become a lot better. It is quite healthy to imagine yourself in the university in the next 4 years. If you're currently in your first year in high school, you can go a step further to imagine yourself graduating with distinction. That works, doesn't it? I encourage you, as I always do, to put your imaginative power into use and in the right way, and you will see yourself excel in life. Don't just imagine it. Imaginations do not actualize the future. Imaginations create a picture of the future. Working towards the crafted imagination is what creates an avenue to actualize that which used to be a mental picture. There's a popular saying that whatever the mind can imagine, the hand can achieve. This is considered truth when the said imaginations are not exaggerated. Do not imagine unreachable and sometimes unreasonable mental pictures that are almost non-existent and unachievable. You cannot imagine yourself in London after an hour from now when you are in Accra. Similar to what I just said, there are times that you would only be killing yourself as you try to do what is beyond your reach. Reach for the sky, but don't lie to yourself. Set goals within your reach, achieve and get them extended from there. Concluding, there are certain things you have been imagining yourself, and even though achievable, they are time-bound. You cannot force certain things out of season. You would want to let things take their natural course as you go in life. Use your mental picture, your imaginations, but don't exaggerate them. Remain focused and strong. See you soon.
Yes, so set goals within your reach and extend it from there. Eric, what are some of your goals, your short-term goals?
My short-term goal is to make a lot of money.
But you have been making money.
I said a lot. You
have been making a lot of money.
And my long-term goal is to live long.
How long?
As long as I keep enjoying life.
But I feel like that is beyond your reach, though. Or?
We'll see.
Anyways, so we at where you like most. I like that too. But
today Obobia was with us.
Yes. Yesterday you were asking for her. Today you saw her.
Yes. And she brightened our screens.
Yes.
And the message was solid.
It was.
What did you take from the message?
That's what I actually said, and that's why I asked you. So then I picked from what she said.
What did you take? I didn't ask what she said.
What I took from what she said is the fact that you should set short-term goals and then extend it from there. So you don't make unrealistic goals that you cannot achieve.
Okay, so my goals are unrealistic.
The life part. Because that is beyond your reach.
Have you heard of Queen Elizabeth?
Yes.
Do you think she's enjoying life or she's sick?
I wouldn't know.
Okay, she's enjoying life.
Is she?
She is. And if your parent is over 100 years, celebrate that parent. She has seen a lot of things in this country, long before independence and so many years after that. That's the short message. I want to live above 100 years so that I can see my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. And if there's a lot of money at home, I should see them playing around in my garden. And see the ones who look like my father or my brother or my sister. In fact, life is sweet. enjoy it.
Eric, then please stop eating fufu after 6 p.m.
No problem.
Salads all the way.
I'll try.
But quickly, also, I know that one of my content partners is watching all the way from India, Asit. Good morning and thank you.
India?
Yes.
I also got a message.
There's
a woman in Elmina, Vida Plange Ogo. These Cape Coast names, Vida Plange Ogo. She said yesterday was her birthday. She has been watching this program. We failed to wish her. And I am happy that a lot of people are associating themselves with the show. All you have to do is to keep reminding your friends that we need them to be part of this show. The numbers always appear on the screen, 0556 999 999. Today, lots are happening in the country. In fact, yesterday, the coalition or civil society organizations against corruption addressed the news conference. They raised an important issue. They are blaming the Supreme Court directly for the mess around the Auditor General's office. In fact, they are saying that the Supreme Court should be held responsible for the abuse of the Constitution, which has led to the subtle, because I see it as dismissal. Some say, oh, he has been asked to proceed on leave. Because if you look at the reasons why somebody will sit down and go into the archives to find out if an appointee or a state official is a Ghanaian and still find out if he's 60 or more would mean that there is a certain motive. And if you read the statement they issued or you listen to Dr. Asante, he's saying that Professor Asare and the CSOs went to court. That was as far back as June or July last year, asking the court for interpretation on the constitutionality of the decision by the president to ask Dom Levo to proceed on leave. There was a follow-up case, which was in October. Because the Supreme Court knew the sensitivity of the issue and how the public was speaking to it, it should have dispatched that case expeditiously. But they have delayed that case till now. And now Dom Levo is gone. The Constitution has been abused in their opinion, and they said it is a threat to a lot of state institutions. And this is coming at a time when the Supreme Court was embarrassed because the Chief Justice represents the institution. In Parliament, when his name was mentioned and we heard the jeers. And I think that it has gone down in the history books because apart from Ghanaians who are watching, the diplomatic community, which is following Ghana, and of course, they don't follow Ghana because they have investments here. Their interest is in good governance. And all these things are going down. And for me, it is very dangerous. EC is strategic because when we talk about good governance, EC is strategic. And there is one side of our population which may never trust the EC as far as Jim Mensah, Dr. Bosman Asare, Dr. Srebwo Kweku, and so on continue to head that institution. The Supreme Court is now another subject of controversy. And then you have NCC and several other institutions. If, and according to Dr. Asante, if we don't speak out now, and then we allow things to go the way we are watching, then Ghana is doomed. And I'm premising this on a front page story of the Daily Graphic. This story has a member of the Council of State. Nation building is a shared responsibility. And the story is attributed to an interview with Mr. Sam Okudzeto. He's one of our celebrated lawyers. And you see the story here. Nation building is a shared responsibility. Now, why am I reading this? Now, there's something here which is captured under what the publication on page 16 describes as political interest. I'll share how it appeared here with you. I want to read 2 paragraphs. It said, the legal luminary asserted that the practice where opposition political parties always opposed government because they are in opposition is not the right approach to the practice of healthy democracy. And this is a fact. You are in NDC and therefore you don't agree, and anything Nana Akufo-Addo does is bad. It's an issue of governance. And it goes on. When they say you are an opposition party, it does not mean you must support everything your fellow opposition parties do. If the government does a good thing, praise it for that. But if there are things which may not be in the appropriate interest of the country, condemn it. Now, critical institutions, this is what Sam Okudzeto says. touching on the fact that the government had doubted funding for accountability institution. Mr. Okudzeto commended it for its financial support to these institutions. According to him, the stability of every nation depends on the proper functions of its governance institutions. So the question is, what is the function of the Council of State? Is the Council of State just an institution that is paid by Ghanaians, and they become, and I'm using it advisedly, bootlickers, and they hang on, a lot of things happening in this country, a lot of people crying, and most especially when you have 10, 15, 20, 30 civil society organizations speaking to an issue. Forget about the other bodies which are supposed to play gatekeeping roles. If these bodies are not talking, I expect, and it is not limited to this particular Council of State, over the years, the Council of State as an institution is losing the respect because people see it as a retirement package for cronies of any government. While I support many of the things Sam Okudzeto is saying, I believe that he must walk this talk by demonstrating, as the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, told them, that they must live above reproach and say it as it is so that we can see a change in how we are governing this country. Now, this is what I will say about this, and that's how it appeared on page 16 of the Daily Graphic. There are other stories. Let me share them quickly. This one says, 2021 budget. Public wants investment in roads and water. Agric Ministry releases 50 pickups for the new regions. And the big story on the front page says, manage citizens' expectations. Kwame Pianim tells government ahead of the 2021 budget, which will be presented to Parliament tomorrow.
Now, speaking of things that are being told to President, now on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, the Minister for Information, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, is advising that government gets creative revenue measures needed to solve fiscal slippages. Now, here there's a sad story where Akachi North Youth Employment Authority Deputy Director allegedly beats girlfriend to death. Also, the Minority Slums government over country's debt portfolio, whereas 17 million COVID-19 vaccine doses for Ghana by June, the president assures us. Now, Eric has also touched on about the 50 pickups that are being presented to agric offices in 6 new regions. And also it has here that Adenton Municipal Chief Executive distributes PPE to traders and drivers.
So the Business and Financial Times, restore our export licenses or we go to Loma. Fruit exporters tell the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. And economists' formalization will accelerate growth. President Akufo-Addo is speaking here, and Africa must use petroleum sector to fast-track industrialization. Yesterday, Senyo Hosi and his group organized the program, and I watched it virtually. The back page says government spent 890 million euros on 33 health infrastructure projects.
Now, quickly, on the front page of the Chronicles here, it says that workers fight union over call for removal of the Ghana Airports Company Limited boss. Also, a husband is ranting, asking who killed his wife in cold blood, and his wife is the policewoman that was gunned down on the Tamale Kumbugu Road.
It's sad. And this morning, if you have been following us, I'm sure you hear it when Wisdom joins us.
Yeah.
Staff of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, those frontline staff, have issued a statement that tomorrow they are suspending their services. The claim is simple, that the 50% of their salary, which is supposed to be paid to them as allowances, has never hit their accounts.
Oh, Lord.
And they have served the notice to the chief executive, the management of the hospital, director of nursing services, and then to the COVID-19 management team and the regional director of health services. It's sad, but we pray that government will quickly move and solve this problem.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Speaking of solving problems, please, if you are thirsty this morning, get X Natural Mineral Water. Or if you're not feeling well, then please go to Health Alert Clinic and they will definitely check you out. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Every human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural. Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to
Welcome back to the morning update on TV XYZ. My name is Nana Abunasewa, and this program is proudly brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water. I'm not going to talk much because I have Wisdom Hede Jome, who is willing to give us all the details of some of the headlines that we have discussed. Good morning, Wisdom.
Good morning, Nana. How are you?
You people should get out of my wardrobe.
Okay, we'll try.
What do you have for us this morning?
Yes, so I'll be telling you about the Auditor General's dismissal. Now, the CSOs against corruption, they are speaking out in a strongly worded statement yesterday. They made some revelations that the Supreme Court should be held responsible. Again, the 13th student who died over the weekend will be having their mass burial later this morning in a short while. And then the Tamale Teaching Hospital staff, they are saying that they are embarking on a strike if their salaries and allowances are not paid. So I'll be telling details of these and other stories.
All right, take us away, Wisdom.
Many thanks for your time as always. My name is Wisdom Hede Jome. We begin the bulletin from the camp of the Auditor General, and the coalition of CSOs organizations against corruption says the Supreme Court of Ghana must be directly held responsible for the abuse and the disguised dismissal of Auditor General Daniel Yao Domelevo. Now, the CSOs in a strongly statement said the Apex Court's delay in the ruling of the two separate cases challenging the constitutionality of the leave the AG was forced to take led to the dismissal. There is more in this following report.
Former Auditor General Daniel Domelevo was finally directed to begin retirement with immediate effect after a long battle with the Nana Akufo-Addo's government, which forced him to proceed on compulsory 167-day leave, a contempt charge against him after then Senior Minister Yao Osafo-Maafo, who was surcharged by the Auditor General for alleged Kroll and Associates scandal, took him to court. Civil society organizations against corruption, in a strongly worded statement, have cited the Supreme Court for complicity in what it describes as purposeful and targeted the unconstitutional forced retirement of former Auditor General Daniel Yao Domelevo. Addressing a news conference yesterday at the head office of the Center for Democratic Development, the CSOs noted with concern the failure of the Apex Court to make pronouncement on two separate suits challenging the constitutionality of the Auditor General's forced leave by the Office of the President, which it said gave room for the constitutional breach. It read, and I quote, "The coalition notes with regret that the Supreme Court is yet to determine two suits relating to the constitutionality of the Auditor General's forced accumulated leave by the President, which were filed by Professor Kweku Asare and 9 civil society organizations in July and October 2020, respectively. In part, this delay in hearing these time-sensitive cases has rendered some of the issues before the court moot and has allowed a grave breach of the Constitution to fester, in our estimation."
The hurriedly orchestrated queries and decisions taken by our Audit Service Board, acting in concert with the Office of the President, and the President's unilateral decision to forcibly retire Mr. Domelevo on the same day he returned to post from an equally forced accumulated leave confirms our belief that Mr. Domelevo has been unfairly targeted. The coalition notes with regret that the Supreme Court is yet to determine two suits relating to the constitutionality of the Auditor General's forced accumulated leave by the President, which was filed by Professor Kwakwasari and 9 CSOs in July and October 2020 respectively. It is a wake-up call to all well-meaning Ghanaians to be citizens and not spectators, to speak up and not stay silent when such manifestly unfair treatment is meted out to individuals who are trying to do their job, and to do so with integrity and doing it in the public interest.
The group called for expeditious resolution of all such high-profile cases if there is no interest to prevent abuse and to engender good governance.
This is one of the things that we complain about almost on a daily basis. Now, when we find people who are trying to help promote the public interest, we do this to them. Which young people are going to follow suit to do what is right? If we want social and economic transformation, silence is not an option.
Yesterday, the Auditor General, Daniel Domolivo, organized a Thanksgiving service to celebrate the end of his tenure at the Auditor General's office. He was joined by family and friends and well-wishers at the special event held in the evening at the Christ the King Catholic Church here in Accra.
Let's move away from that and to some other stories. And 13 people who died in Lagoon near Palm over the weekend will have their mass burial later today. Now, TVXYZ News has learned the president has donated an amount of 20,000 cedis to the bereaved family. 6,000 of that amount shall be spent on mortuary fees, while 10,000 has also been presented for traditional authorities for customary rituals. Now, TVXYZ News has learned the entire township of Apam is in a state of mourning. Later this morning, Nana Abena will be speaking to our Central Regional correspondent who will be giving us update our live proceedings on happenings there. Now let's turn attention to the economy and matters arising from the State of the Nation address. And Ghanaian traders, particularly importers and exporters, have accepted notice any increase in tariffs by shipping lines will be passed on the customer. Now, GUTA President Dr. Joseph Obeng has been sharing more concerns in this report.
The Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, has already served notice that they may be compelled to raise prices of commodities, mainly imports, if shipping lines go ahead to increase tariffs. GUTA, at its recent stakeholder meeting on the postponed tariffs adjustments, lamented about the cost of doing business at the Tema and Takoradi ports. It followed similar agitations by a group calling itself the Concerned Freight Forwarders Association. GUTA President Dr. Joseph Obeng, who has been speaking to TVXYZ News on expectations ahead of the 2021 budget and the State of the Nation's address, said governments must critically deal with potential threats to businesses in efforts to boost recovery of the economy.
Kapoha have increased, and then we are also surcharging us again to pay. It means that you want to take it all from us, and that's why we are appealing to government to talk to these shipping lines and also regularize them, because they can't just do, because these things are not done in other jurisdictions, other countries, that you pay your freight and then you come and operation costs, like you pay your freight when they are about to release your container to you, they say pay release charges. This is an insult to us, and we have to stand up to this exploitation.
Dr. Obeng, who again lamented about foreigners in retail trade, noted with concern high lending rates and hoped critical steps will be taken to make access to credit less expensive to cushion businesses struggling.
Most businesses have lost their capitals, and all that capitals have been dwindled to the barest minimum, and that's why businesses need to revamp their diminishing capitals. And so we have to be able to get access to credit, and that is affordable at the same time. Now it has come to realization that Ghana have a case, especially when the Speaker of Nigeria came here. He admitted and said that Ghana have every cause, every reason to enforce its laws, but then they were pleading that we should temper mercy with justice and all that.
Now, on the floor of Parliament yesterday, there was heated debate when the parties began debate on the State of the Nation address. Now, key among the issues were the state of the economy, the Ejapadi, corruption, and fresh promises intended to facilitate development. TVX Gaza News engaged some MPs, including former Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor, who is also MP for Pru East, and the current Minister for Public Enterprises, Joseph Kujo. Let's hear Dr. Kwabena Donkor.
Inherited a more robust power system than we did because of the additions we've put into it. Additions come at a cost. There's no free lunch in life. But you also inherited a facility for paying the legacy debt. So if there are challenges during your period, why do you throw that back to a regime that ended 5 years ago? As to whether the current power challenges are critical enough in terms of duration to be called load shedding, I wouldn't know. However, what I know is that some areas in the country have persistently experienced power supply challenges.
Meanwhile, the MP and Minister for Public Enterprise says the NDC is only playing mischief.
Can say that there's a technology that ensures that there can't be trip-off anywhere in the world. Then they can tell us to bring the technology in here. Do you understand? So, these developments that have come, let's wait. If it persists for a year and persists for 2 years, persists for 3 years, then we say there is Dumsor comeback. Because in their case, it was up to 5 years. And I remember first year, second year, third year when it started picking up. And then the president had been here. And no, I'm saying Dumsor means something. If you use the word Dumsor, it means something. And that is a characterization of a persistent.
And now a former Deputy Finance Minister, Kweku Rickett-Hagan, is also challenging the president on the true state of the economy. Now, on the presentation of the 2021 budget, Mr. Hagan disagreed and says suggestions it's wrong for the majority leader to read the budget on his behalf. The finance minister is not well.
In February this year, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, openly disclosed in a press statement after its first Monetary Policy Committee meeting that economic recovery from the havoc wreaked by COVID-19 pandemic will take longer than initially anticipated. This followed earlier concerns by the Bretton Woods institutions and rating agencies about Ghana's ballooning debt, which is now over 70% of GDP. While the president was silent on how much has been added to the public debt, he was emphatic about the resilience of the economy, which he said is now very attractive to investors and is projected to grow at 5%.
I don't know the president to be a finance man, and I know his finance minister is actually indisposed at the moment. So I don't know who is actually giving him economic advice. I know his vice president is an economist, so I don't know whether he's taking advice on the economy from the vice president, in that case the economic management team, or he's taking it from people who are deputizing or who are standing in for the finance minister. But his figures are completely wrong. First of all, it doesn't even agree with what Fitch and other agencies are telling us. But it's going to be a tough year, and it's going to be tough next 4 years.
But in a sharp response, former Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Rickett-Hagan said he is surprised about the false impression created, citing recent reports by rating agencies like Fitch and Moody's. Mr. Rickett-Hagan, who is also the MP for Cape Coast South, said the reality is that the economy is on life support.
The economy itself, as I was always saying, was actually on life support machine. The economy was on its knees before the pandemic. What the pandemic did for this government was actually to save it. you know, it's a kind of funny thing to say that a pandemic, which was something quite catastrophic for all of us, ended up saving the government.
The former Deputy Finance Minister, unlike his colleague, said he finds nothing wrong with Majority Leader Osei Mensah Bonsu presenting the budget this Friday. He, however, wonders why government would take such a decision when Mr. Mensah Bonsu obviously cannot own and respond to fiscal policy issues.
Whoever reads the budget is the statement of the president, a statement of the government. So it doesn't matter who the mouthpiece is the message. And the book, if you look at it, is the economic statement, you know, of His Excellency the President. Who reads it on behalf of the President? Still, the President is where the buck stops. So I don't think international community will really mind. What we will be minding is who the finance minister is going to be.
Government is already in the process to raise $5 billion to support its 2021 budget. The Ministry of Finance is engaging some financial houses, including the Bank of America, Citibank, Rand Merchant Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and Standard Bank as lead managers. The instrument will consist of Eurobonds, diaspora bonds, sustainable bonds, and syndicated or bridge loans. Rating agency Fitch has already hinted the over $1.8 billion indebtedness to independent power producers is a key risk to Ghana's post-pandemic debt trajectory. Fitch, which recently affirmed Ghana's sovereign rating as B stable, says public debt will plateau at about 75% of GDP from 2024. That is, if the expected gradual recovery, both in economic performance and fiscal revenue, is sustained.
Now, workers in the agri sector are punching holes in the president's address, insisting Ghana is not yet a net exporter of foods.
Claims about Ghana being self-sufficient and now a net exporter of foodstuff, particularly tomatoes, plantain, yam and grains, has been Nana Akufo-Addo's government rhetoric a year after the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative was launched. The president again highlighted that in the State of the Nation address.
I'm happy to inform the House that during this period of the pandemic, we have experienced no food shortages in this country. There have been increases in maize and rice yields by 110% and 48% respectively. We have for the first in a long while become a net exporter of food, as opposed to the days of importation of tomatoes and plantain.
But the General Agricultural Workers Union is disputing the claim. General Secretary Edward Kariwe said Ghana still depends heavily on imports from neighboring countries for daily consumption.
If you take maize, for instance, the price of maize last year, 2020 March, and that of 2021 March, the price is very, very high for 2021. So it means that there has been a tremendous increase in the price of maize. And we are also all aware that poultry farmers and the rest could not even get the maize to buy. And then even where they got it, the price is so exorbitant that even if they buy it and they use it to feed their birds and whatever comes out of it, they are unable to sell because the cost would have gone so high. Again, you realize that he's saying that, and for that matter, per the government statistics, that maize has been increased by 110%, you know, which is more than double the percentage. Certainly it would have driven down prices. And then again, that we are a net exporter of tomatoes. That is not, cannot just be accepted.
He cited poultry farmers and the recent protest by tomato marketers and haulage drivers about highway robberies.
I expect that the government should increase budgetary allocation into agriculture. It's not only that, but also to ensure that they put in place measures that will constrain and then constrain the occurrences of the challenges, like fertilizer smuggling, like giving wrong seed to the farmers,
and so on.
Mr. Kariwe said, while the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative is a bold one, there are still serious teething problems that appear ignored. He said, going forward, there must be stringent measures to protect the fertilizer subsidy program and the cocoa sector.
Meanwhile, the public is divided, but some were blunt on LGBTQI, public debt, and Ejapa.
Because entity munados NDC MPP no ama niema enkoye
maybe problem that me warning say me say na say titi say me fa gain e wo kuma but nkokwa kan ina expect say nka oba man dey address no e be ti bibia fa gain no dan titri happen so dey won say light up na say takra approve and also nga south we can be found near baby a man ko no bia ehun say o mu ana say nim and na problem because yeah tradition no and anya culture so no.
Now let's do some other stories, and if you're a motorist and often apply this straight from Malam Junction through Akwaja Interchange to Temerent of the motorway, then begin to blaze yourself for an alternative route. Now, a statement issued by the Ghana Highway authorities advising motorists to apply alternative route in accordance with the advertised period that affected sections of the route to be cut off. Now, these specifically are the N1 that from the Tema Aflao motorway before the traffic light at TT Brothers and Junction from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and the Tema Akosombo stretch near the newly constructed overhead walkway from midday to 3 p.m. Motorists are advised to follow traffic diversion signs at strategic sections of the N1, N2 and N4 highway. Another statement also says specific dates for subsequent works from the Fiesta Royal Hotel Junction to the Oponglo traffic light junction on the N4 will be provided in due course. And before we go, the Coronavirus Treatment Center in the Northern Regional Capital, Tamale, is likely to be shut down tomorrow as workers protest over non-payment of 50% frontline service allowance. Now, a letter from the Chief Executive Officer in charge of facility and copy to the Regional Director of Health Services, the head of the COVID-19 management team, and the Director in charge of nursing services. The workers noted that all doctors, nurses, laboratory technicians, pharmacists, odd-lines and security staff at the COVID-19 treatment center will be forced to embark on a strike starting tomorrow, Friday, 12 March 2021. Now, part of the statement read, and I quote, "Our attention has been drawn to the fact that non-health workers are receiving the COVID-19 vaccine, while the frontline health workers here in Tamale Teaching Hospital have no access to the vaccine." It concluded and says no number of the team have received any insurance and insurance packages promised to frontline health workers when they got infected by the COVID-19 in the line of duty. And that'll be it for this morning's edition of News on the Morning Update. As always, do log on to my xyzonline.com for more. So, like I said, Nana Abena will take over and I'll be speaking to our Central Regional correspondent on the burial for the 13 people who died over the weekend.
Yes.
Anna, over to you.
Thank you, Wisdom. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. needs microfinance. Growing with you.
Welcome back to the morning update. Welcome back to the morning update. This is TV XYZ. My name is Nana Abena Sewa, and once again, this program is brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water. We have been reporting about the incident in Apam where 13 children apparently have lost their lives due to drowning. This has brought the nation in tears. A lot of people are crying. Yesterday, I was watching videos from Apam when the incident happened. We saw that some of the children were being led from the beach. I mean, their dead bodies were being led from the beach to the mortuary. The President of the Republic of Ghana has heard this plight and, for that matter, has offered financial support to the bereaved families, and also 2 of the children were lucky enough to have survived the incident. Now, the Minister for Agriculture, the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Madam Hawa Kumsing, was the one that did the presentation. And what they did was they gave 1,000 Ghana cedis to the survivors and also 20,000 Ghana cedis collectively for the bereaved family. Out of that 20,000, they have been asked to use 6,000 to support their mortuary expenses. About 10,000 Ghana cedis were given to the traditional leaders to help with any necessary customary rituals that needs to be done. Before I delve into it, there is a video that I want you to see.
News has learnt the beach was largely deserted as NADMO and other search parties putting their last effort to locate any other body that may have drowned on that fateful Sunday evening. The sad incident, which occurred on the blind spot of fisherfolk who could have easily saved the tragedy, raised eyebrows, especially because of the clear directives to the police to enforce COVID-19 restrictions. Some of the revelers, mainly boys and girls, are said to have come from nearby communities including Ankamu and Mumford to join others at Apam. But to date, no one has been arrested and there is no word about who may have mobilized them to their sad end on earth.
Yeah, so you heard the reports and what is happening now. But in a moment, we will be talking to our Central Regional Correspondent, Nana Teria, who is on the grounds, and so will be telling us what is happening and what people are saying. Hello, Nana, good morning.
Good morning, my sister.
How are you doing? How is the atmosphere? Are you at Apam right now? Are you at the funeral grounds right now?
Yes, please. I'm Apam with the chief fisherman and the assembly member is with me here.
Okay. We'll be talking to him in a short while, but how is the atmosphere like? I mean, how are people taking the whole incident?
Yes, as you are saying, when I was here almost 60 minutes ago, the whole community is very calm and you see some people are moving around. But I heard that the dedicated from the former president, John Dramani Mahama, very soon it will arrive at Apam. So currently with the Nananum, with the chief fisherman is here and the assembly member is here. So let's go to speak to honorable member first. Honorable, yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I'm going to say.
And
then say that when you my farmer okay, we walk out the question Ben or may ask the or my penny of Mahama soon in pay for our best someone in the pay. What's done in the
okay, Crabion the anya in the na overthrown Crabion. Mpayfu ako akwim ma da also the way you know in an anum ako akokasa. Na when you walk akasa na aben there or the way kusum amanzi bi wo ho ansa na we tum wa eden we sie ho. Nti ofi ochinefi memenda no kweside bi kwesi gyoda no ono na obohwe na wada yadam amandiri nyina na yame ya adoma benada Tuesday ena obotro dam nkofuri nyinala won obopro won kwabio na wekeka mpemfu won wa samanaze ntimbra o wono ono yin onye inde na obopro won kwabio na mbom oye Tuesday oye benada orbe
Yeah, and say the government paid John Dramani Mahama, NDC pay for Baha and Anape in Chemistry.
Oh, I know quite. Oh, yeah, in the da, and ye meeting in Kakabina, ye and say that Professor Jenana Ukuku Ajiman, no, ye John Dramani Mahama Noroba, oh, yeah, Professor Jenana Ukuku Ajiman, oh, yeah, Vice President, oh, yeah, John Dramani Mahama, no Vice President, oh, you know, honor, and there and a pay Oroba, na we be share our funa. One mba wako na hona wa survive no oroba ebihye hona nkomo bi wo ho a onye awofo no na akofumanfo na nananom no wa hwehwe na wehuza otiodo.
Yeah, let's go to the chief fisherman. Nana, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, Mbajapomse.
Miado, Mbajamede Kwamsiti, Kasafi, Apa, na Apa, akofumanfo, the swamfo. Mukona make it.
You know, actually, show the Guaquima, what the best come from my not assume them what they go.
You, ma, I will make that. Since I'm not paying for that in Akasa Brandon. Nothing there. The master be busy, crude remeda, and I upon be being clear that. Answer the margin is no, in the BB, na, I call them on the margin either. AC. In the margin is that. I would have yes, not the margin be being Casibio. Oninsi no namda na namo watina sere aworo wayi kusuma mande wo ya paya tinda kapi mande enibi so mande enibi wo wia ono branda ya kapre ewufuno krabio
eti yensha ehia wo de gwa kom wo de shia oya kanu run meet me vice oya Professor Nando Pukajiman na nanu mo shom do waya card wo de shia okai ehia to this is ya
yo mopacho owo mi de amanya fono yehu de yeyina ya wagana ya pagana ni yeye e pagana ni kuntu nti se amanya kunu so bi ma ba naza wa ba sha awofuna naza ndi sa amanya kunu so won pen fono wa ba so ebeje won fa do sina wa ye bida na wonyi mo obotu so ade wa ye nti ya ya de yebeje won fa do na yetu yeju won fa ni yetu wa ba wo wo so be sha awofuna na awofuna wa kuma ato woyim.
You have something to say.
Okay.
We will come aso no.
Mo bi ka kama ka aso do ka pede. Importe asumeti oben ha mu na no. Emi opi na me ye de.
Teria.
Nta asumeti mpa na ama.
Nana Teria.
Nti me de metama bo.
Hello Nana Teria. Otemenka. Yeah, so we have been speaking to our Central Regional Correspondent, Nana Teria, and also at the background he was talking to the assembly member in the district, and also he spoke to the chief, according to him, the chief fisherman, who was explaining that they will put together certain measures to make sure that this unfortunate incident do not happen again. Now, apparently they have performed certain customary rituals also to prevent this from happening, and apparently they will be burying the children on Tuesday. So they will be doing a lot of things from Saturday, Sunday, Monday, then Tuesday. Finally, they will be putting the children to rest. Nana, are you still on the line? Hello, Nana.
Hello, my sister.
Yes, you're there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, Nana, Matisa, yes, the other side, President Mahama, former President Mahama, and the vice Beba a year, but Mati Bibi Afa Nana Akufo-Addo side say Ebia Minister Ben and I say member of state Ben and Beba.
When you have Adama within Kakayano, that on my priority, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, and that one by a donation of 360 million in Kano at the mar or community no victims no. I was born for Fulano. Now, you know, say another pay DC in a 24 around no and I pay also over now. I was examining to see why in Azwaha, but very soon, His Excellency Professor Nalajan Oboku Ajiman, former running mate, very soon he'll be here with a delegate from the NDC. To meet the entire community So far, we are waiting for them. I think very soon they will be here to speak to the community.
Okay. Now, only in Penufone Casamete, so almost say, almost see in Kuala Tuesday. Tuesday, and fishing day, and
yeah, I thought that Chief is a man, or just say, Tuesday, no, and I was the one, week last year in our door. Oh, yeah, I come high Tuesday, a da. To know that you know, assistant Adina. It's a week of from Indakis Yamiadma. Monday dawn, that's a Monday midnight. No matter which class Yabu, Tuesday and a panel. No by a mass variant, Apamha.
Okay, Nana Medase Yadase Sel, Oni Yakasa and Opay. Please have a good day.
Okay.
Right, now we were talking to our Central Regional correspondent, as I stated earlier, with regards to the issue that happened in Apam. 13 children have lost their lives due to drowning, and preventive measures apparently have been put in place by NADMO, who we spoke to yesterday. And also we had the assembly members also saying that they are making sure that this unfortunate incident do not repeat itself. We'll be taking our newspaper review soon.
If a cry na menyisika, edia ye mefui.
Ehinfa pa na menya bosia, edia tre medwuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre, miye bosia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yemamwa kwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hye ahodo bi te se dwadifo abosia, ekuokuo bosia, susu account. Eni da so wo ho savings account. Me bada chain savings account. Ene de keka ho. Suhum Rural Bank was 03422918696. Na won so wetumi aka se.
Suhum Rural Bank. Ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank. Enti me pa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many hour crap.
Sure.
Check, auto checks, check, auto checks, check.
Emission, check,
auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Auto checks, auto checks.
Brakes, check. Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadrum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
Auto checks.
AutoChecks, check.
AutoChecks, your safety, our priority.
Check, auto checks.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yeah.
It be old cargo. Can I join you guys?
Yeah.
Always drink fresh, natural, mixed, mineral, water.
Still got it. Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome back. This is Morning Update on TV XYZ. My name is Eric Ahianyo. Abena just finished an interview with the Central Regional Correspondent for Power FM. We did an earlier story suggesting that the 13 bodies will be laid to rest today. That's actually the original plan, but we understand that the chief priests in the communities involved, Mumford, Apam, and the third community I cannot immediately remember, have decided that because Tuesdays are not fishing days, that is when they consult the gods. They still believe that there's something spiritual related to the death of these children. And so they want to perform rituals before they lay the bodies to rest. Otherwise, from what we understand and their beliefs, the ghosts will haunt the fishermen and people who try to use the water. If the right purifications are not done, will also be disturbed by the spirits, the dead spirits of these bodies. That is the explanation we have now. And so the final burial will be held next Tuesday. Again, we understand that the DC for the area, the police commanders, some government officials will also be at today's event, which is part of the processes. And as you also heard from the correspondent, the NDC is also taking advantage of this event to commiserate with the families. And so Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman will be leading the NDC team to this particular event. I'm also very happy that at least the government, even though money cannot replace the lives lost, has made some gesture. 20,000 cedis came from the office of the president. Yesterday, the fisheries minister, Hawa Kumson, was in the community. They have presented 1,000 each to the bereaved families. And then, of course, 6,000 cedis will be used to defray the cost of the mortuary charges. And apart from that, they have also given 10,000 cedis to the chief fishermen as part of their contribution to perform the necessary rituals. Lessons in there is that if you're a parent, show more interest in the movement of your child. If you are somebody who is used to encouraging your children, let's go to the beach, let's go to the beach. Look, children are very innocent. If you condition them at the very youthful stage to make it look like swimming is normal without helping them to understand the dangers involved, and most especially if those areas are not properly designated and do not have the necessary preventive measures like lifeguards and so on, don't let them go there. Your children's life is as precious as anything you want to succeed in life. That's all I can share. This morning, I'll be doing the conversation with Mensa Thompson of ASEPA. He's the executive director of ASEPA. And then Send Ghana Foundation, the chief executive or the local representative, will also be with us in the studio or by phone. We understand they are having some difficulties with traffic reaching this area, but we believe that they will still make it. Accra is full of surprises. Sometimes you may assume that, oh, the roads will be free before you realize it is diversion all the way. You must also remember that earlier in our bulletin, we also announced that there'll be some road diversions. People coming from Afienya, from Pram, all the eastern communities in Accra always leave those stretches to Accra through either the motorway or they use the Tema Beach Road. And because there'll be blockades, other people don't want to risk using the road only to come across some of these new intersections or the diversions that have been created. And so many people have diverted their movement onto other roads, and that is creating a lot of stress for drivers. And so if you are yet to leave home, please, if you can, use Google Map, try to find your location. At least it will give you some impression about some of the stretches where there'll be a lot of traffic. It will save your fuel, it will reduce the stress. You enter your office refreshed and you begin work. This morning, we'll be talking about a number of things. One is the State of the Nation address. I understand Yaa Preko, Deputy Communications Director of the NPP, also be joining us. And then, of course, yesterday, civil society organizations fighting corruption also raised some concerns. The issue is very simple. They think that Yaa Domlevo has not been treated fairly. Again, they are also saying that if the Supreme Court had fast-tracked the two cases before it, knowing very well the sensitive nature of the Office of the Auditor General, and most especially because of all the concerns which even turn into part of the political campaign rhetorics, the Supreme Court could have, in the interest of Ghana and good governance, placed priority on that particular case. One filed by Professor Kwekwasari, and then the other one was also filed as far back as October last year. So from June, July, August, September, October, November, December, the Supreme Court, the Attorney General's office, nobody saw the need to bring that matter to rest. And what was it? They were challenging the constitutionality of the decision by the president to ask Yadomelevo to proceed on leave. And so what could have been the reason why the Supreme Court didn't find it interesting? I want us to listen to Dr. Santi of CDD. He summarizes that at a press conference held by the coalition of CSOs against corruption. When we finish listening to him, I will show you excerpts of the statement, and then we begin our conversations with our guests. Well, it looks like we are still struggling to get the tape. While they are doing that, Wisdom is here with me in the studio. Wisdom, how are you? You know why I'm laughing? When you sit there, you look like a guest. But when I meet you at the backside, you are a reporter. Wisdom, while we are waiting for the tape, I'm told that Yaw Prekoh, the deputy country director for the MPP, the deputy communications director of the MPP, is on the line. Yaw, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Charlie, how be things?
With the money. This country director give me the Edubigo.
No, I say communication director. I be like my eye know the see well. Charlie, the way they laugh, it be like everything be soft for you.
Eric, good morning, by the grace of God.
Okay. Yeah, I called you this morning because a lot of people are speaking about the State of the Nation address. I believe that you followed Parliament as well. And for you as an MPP activist, when you hear critics saying that the president doesn't seem to care about people who are dead, or telling us about the true state of our economy, i.e. how much debt we owe, or how much crisis, how serious that crisis is, the president is not being sincere as far as the statement is concerned. We'll tackle it one at a time. First of all, the NDC is chasing you. It says he didn't talk about LGBTQI, he didn't talk about the killings in Techiman South, Ablekuma Central, and so on, as we witnessed after the elections. How do you feel when you hear such responses?
Thank you, Eric, and a very good morning to your viewers. We have followed the State of the Nation address, and then we've also followed the that came afterwards. I can confidently say the president touched on all important aspects of our society, of our country, things that border on our daily lives. You know, if you want him to talk about specifics like things that happened in Techiman, somebody else may also be expecting him to talk about something that happened in probably Asin Fosu, something that happened in Asante Achimno, something that happened in Akachi. You know, so it gives an overall assessment, an overall view of the country, of what the country looks like, what the state of the country is as at the time he was talking. So if we try to question what he is saying, or try to trivialize what he has to say that covers the entire country and begin to look out for specifics, everybody somewhere within the country may have something he or she expects the president to touch on. You understand? And we can't have him touching on everything at the same time. So what I can say is that, for instance, the killings or accidents or whatever we are looking at, something happened in Apam recently, and I heard commentary, I heard people asking why the president didn't talk about the drownings in Apam. The sector minister, the minister responsible for the coastal areas, you know, the fisheries and aquaculture, was billed to go to Apam the next day after the president's State of the Nation's address. It wasn't going to be proper for the president to preempt whatever arrangements they had made for the minister to visit the community. It was probably just going to be lip service for the president to stand out there speak about APAM when he had not, or his officials had not been on the ground to see what the situation is for themselves. So it was only proper for us to wait to the people, assess what's happened, probably bring out a report and let us all fashion out modalities to forestall future occurrences. You understand? So for us, I think the president touched on very important things that border on everybody's life in the country, and we have to applaud him for that.
Hear that, yes, the president must first be briefed, and then he has representatives who will be on the ground to address issues. You remember that when the president spoke just a few days ago, he was calling on all Ghanaians to join hands to build this nation. In fact, unity was something that ran through some paragraphs in the statement he presented. As we speak, on the front page of the Daily Graphic, the member of Council of State, Sam Okujeto, is saying that nation building is a shared responsibility. While you were speaking to me, I made reference to a paragraph where he talks about the fact that when we want to build this nation in unison, the NDC as an opposition or other opposition parties must not see everything government does as wrong. But in the same breath, when you are a member of any ruling party, you must not assume that everything government does is right. We have people who died during the elections. This election result was disputed. The Supreme Court has unanimously endorsed the pronouncement that Nana Akufo-Addo is the president of this country. And we all accept that he will be our president for the next 4 years. If he's not talking about an issue that borders on the hearts of families or one big political party that government wants to bring on board, is it not fair for anybody to suggest that he's choosing and picking what is of interest to him?
I don't think he's picking and choosing. Because if we want to go into these specifics, people may start talking about what happened in the past and has not been addressed. What happened in the past to some people and they have not gotten redress. These are things you wouldn't want to encourage. These are things you wouldn't want to talk about. Elections are held, at a certain time. Polls are supposed to be conducted in a peaceful environment. If people decide to take the laws into their own hands, do things that are untoward, be it MPP members or NDC members or whichever political party, let the laws deal with them. You don't try to force your emotions, you don't try to force your expectations on the president or try to, as it were, force information out of him, force him, compel him to say things you want to hear because probably you think it happened to your political party. Should he use a platform such as the State of the Nation address, a platform built for the delivery of the State of the Nation address, to go and now start talking about what somebody did in an election, what happened in an election that has taken place and has already, the results has already been declared. We know the winners, we know the losers. We are to unite and build a country. Now you want us to go back and start talking about specific things that happened in the election. We can dwell on those things forever and never make progress. Because by the time you start doing that, people will now come back and say, okay, we too on our side, when it happened to us in Sydney, nobody addressed it, nobody spoke against it. When this happened to us in Acacia, nobody addressed it, nobody gave us attention, nobody condemned it. For me, I always say this may be probably the first time I'm saying this on your platform, but I never endorse political violence. I never in my life want to be associated in any way to political violence. My reason is that if power is in my hands today and I use it against somebody who is on the other side, just as power found its way into my hands, tomorrow it may be out of my hands. If I don't treat my opposing party fairly, if I don't treat my counterpart on the other side with humility, with fairness, when power goes into his hands, I don't expect that he also treats me fairly or treats me with respect and dignity. So it behoves on me, as and when power dwells or resides in my hands, to prove to the person on the other side that you are my brother. In as much as Ghanaians have given me the mandate to lead, you are no less a human being. You are part of the system. You are part of the political system. We make this together. We do it together. Together we can build it. So it is a shared responsibility. We don't have to, in any way, assume that when power is in the hands of somebody, he can do what he wants because somebody did it to him some time ago. I was granted an interview on a platform like that. We have a catalog of things that happened to NPP activists years ago that we always sit on radio, always sit on TV and enumerate, always trying to let people remember, reminding Ghanaians that these were things we went through years ago and nobody gave us attention. We as leaders of our party always receive pressure from our political actors within those environments where those actions took place. They want us to help them, want us to assist them, get justice. In some cases, they want to revenge. And they want the system to support them carry out things like that. We condemn. We say no. In as much as it happened to us then, and we think the system wasn't fair to us, if we continue like that, anybody who comes again after us would also think it is only fair for that cycle to continue. It must be broken at a point. I condemn what happened in Techiman. I in no way endorse it. Never. But then I think it is something we can put behind us and encourage people to see election as a contest of ideas and not a contest of strength and weaponry and cadre and maiming and distraction. No. What happened in Techiman is condemnable, just as what happened in Tripoli is condemnable, just as what happened in Talensi is condemnable, just as what happened in Achenswa is condemnable, just as what happened in Amenfi West is condemnable, just as what happened in Ajiwa is condemnable. What has happened in Techiman is equally condemnable. Let us not encourage people to think that we must always use our strength, use cadre, use force to get what we think is rightfully ours. You can use other means that are legitimate, and I think you will get a fair hearing and a fair response.
Because you are making it look like it has happened. Let's condemn it, and that's all. If you were a member of any of the families whose relative was killed in the way it happened, you saw uniformed police and military officers firing into the crowd, and you hear me or any other person suggesting that the president has still not seen the reason to speak to it, and let's condemn it and move on. The Minister for Interior, the Minister for Defense, the Minister for National Security, they've all appeared before Appointments Committee. All they have said is that investigations are underway. And we have December, January, February, we are into March. Today is 11th. And we don't know what is happening. Would you be satisfied? Would you take on the president, or you assume that Yapreko says it's condemnable just like any other Ghanaian, and let's move on? Is that what you want to hear?
I wouldn't be happy if I was a member of any of the deceased, a member of the family of any of the deceased persons. I wouldn't be happy. And not only that, I was born and bred in Techiman, so whatever happens there affects me. Probably more than anybody else I may be talking to at this time. Because my mother still resides in Techiman. I built for her in Techiman years ago. So if I say I'm going to my mother now, it's Techiman I am going to. So whatever happens in Techiman, it's personal. You understand? So I wouldn't be happy hearing that my kinsmen, my friends, my family members, people I grew up with are being killed or being maimed in Techiman in the name of politics. But then, what should the president do in this instance when this isn't the only political violence we have recorded? You don't single out this one and give it a special attention. Let people know that there are systems that can work for them. If you are a member or you have lost a family member through these actions, seek redress. Go to the court, go to the police, go to the military. Whatever procedures that are available to you, try to use it to get attention to your case. Try to use it to get redress. On the other hand, if you pick and choose, you would get other people who would also come up and say, what is happening to us? Nobody condemned it. Nobody spoke against it. Nobody spoke for us. Why must it be for these people? Let us encourage the systems to work. And that brings me back to what I keep saying, that we shouldn't let people feel that elections must come with violence. No.
Okay, so
let us begin to accept that we can't continue in that line of activity, in that procedure all the time. When we go into an election and of a certainty, somebody must die. Why must it be so? Don't cast your ballot, count them, who has won, who has lost, declare. It is a procedure. It shouldn't result in the loss of life. By the time it gets into that, then it means probably we aren't making any headway. All the credentials, all the accolades we keep giving ourselves, all the names we are touting ourselves with, all the titles we are ascribing to ourselves as the torchbearers of democracy in the sub-region, probably we aren't living up to the bill. Okay, so Yao, the president talks about unity. The elections are over. He's been affirmed as the president of this country. He wants all hands on deck, and he was very emphatic. Do you see President Akufo-Addo as a president, a father for all president, or you see him as a father for MPP apparatchiks? He is a father for all. A case in point is his appointment of the special prosecutor. Okay. We all saw how things played out. Yeah, can you hear me? I can hear you now. I can hear me too. It was a deliberate question to elicit a follow-up. What I'm saying is, because the president has spoken, some are saying he should walk the talk. What gestures should the president be seen to be making to make the other side, which has decided that everything Nana Akufo-Addo does is not pleasing them, to begin to appreciate that there is commitment and they should work with him to help us build Ghana? What do you expect him to do in view of these concerns that are being raised against him? The president has always demonstrated his magnanimity. He has always demonstrated his open-heartedness and open-armed approach. But in politics, your opponent may never see the good in you. So it's not surprising that people would show their dissatisfaction or would show their unacceptance of all what the president will do. For me, I think over the period, at least in the last 4 years that we have seen President Akufo-Addo rule, you can't say or point to one thing that you would say he did this against these people, against this person, because you assume he is hiding behind political coloration or he is doing that to satisfy his political agenda. You wouldn't be able to point to one thing. There may be accusations, there may be suspicions, there may be imaginations, there may be assumptions, but you can't point out one thing that suggests that as for this, the man did it because he hates the NDC. The man did it because he hates his opponent, or he did this to spite his opponent. He has called for unity. It behoves on us. I like the kind of relationship between the president and the Speaker of Parliament. Even before the Speaker, Honorable Babin, became the Speaker of Parliament, we knew he had a very good working relationship with the president. It was out there. It was visible for everybody to see. That is the kind of relationship I want for Ghana, where an NDC person wouldn't see an MPP man as an enemy. We may differ in ideas. We may disagree on political ideology. We may disagree on political lines. But then we all want the betterment of our country. That is why I am pushing it in this direction and you are pushing it in that direction. If there is a convergence point, if there is a place where we can agree and say, let's do it this one way and get the results from other Ghana, it doesn't matter whether it is coming from NDC or from MPP. We should be able to agree and say we have achieved this together. But when you have recently parliamentarians, the NDC side of parliament, a few of them supported the approval of our ministers, of the president's nominees. You saw what went on the side of the NDC. What came out of their communications officer, the national communications officer, statements he made that he admitted to have made them. I was honestly thinking it wasn't coming from him. Honestly, I thought those statements were not coming from him. Probably somebody had made them in his name. But when he owned up and said, I made them, I said, no, this is serious. But for me, this is where I want us to agree. This is where I want us to meet. If people don't have concrete reasons, if they don't have enough reason to say this must be rejected or this must be resisted, they shouldn't do it in the name of politics.
Okay,
that
so
is where I want us to agree.
Yeah, before you go, there are other outstanding issues. I believe that tomorrow's budget statement may address them if government is interested in responding to those asking them. Critics say the president was dodgy on our national debt or didn't talk about the true state of the economy. Others are saying it appears Dumsor is back, yet the president is saying that he's going to connect every community to the national grid. In your conclusion, what assurances can you give us? Because as a deputy communication director of the party, I believe you rub shoulders with some of the big men at the top. What should we expect in the 2021 budget?
To the specifics. For instance, Dumsor that appears to be creeping back into society. We approached the relevant authorities, and the assurances they gave us was that it wasn't a problem of generation. It has nothing to do with generational capacity. That is reassuring, because once there is generational capacity, then there is a problem. All what they are saying is that they are purely technical and transmissional problems, which can be resolved. Once there is transmissional problems, these are things that can be resolved on ground, because technical men know what to do, put what where it's supposed to be, and make sure that the problems are resolved. So the assurance we have is that Dumsor isn't backed up in the word Dumsor as in its right sense, rightful sense, where we have Dumsor and it's as a result of shortfalls in generational capacity. No, that is not what we are experiencing. But what we are experiencing now is purely technical due to transmissional problems, and they are resolving them as at now. We got a word from the new Minister of Energy, Honorable Matthew Poku Prempeh, who held a meeting with those in charge of
the power sector.
Yes.
Okay.
And sought to find out what actually was happening. He met them yesterday, actually, and they gave him the assurance. They explained these things I'm telling you to him. They explained to him that these are the things that were happening on the ground, and they weren't problems of generation.
Okay, so that means that assurance is good. Yapreko,
yes.
I am personally inviting you to join us next week so that we can have a much more exciting conversation on national issues.
You are the man.
Make you no feel me.
Thank you, my bro.
All right. Yapreko is a very good friend of mine, and I'm happy to speak to him. Anytime we meet, we debate issues. Wisdom was with me, and we had wanted to speak to other issues, but fortunately, Mensah Thompson is here. He has been able to beat the traffic. Mensah, we know that many parts of the stretch from Malam Junction to Tamamoto Way will be blocked, and a lot of people, in anticipation of surprises, are using their own alternative routes. I believe that you are using one of those routes.
No, I was using the Tetekwashi.
Okay. And how was the stretch like? Was there unusual traffic?
I think the traffic is a bit heavy after the Legon traffic light.
Okay.
It's just between the Legon traffic light, then the second
That's where the Standard Authority is. Yes, there. So it's between there to just to Opavia, and then I think
And so for those of you who are watching and about to leave home, the news is that Gridco is relocating some transmission lines along the N1, N2, and I think N4.
Yeah.
I just simply describe it as the stretch from Malam Junction through Kaukudi, no, not Kaukudi, Fiesta Royal
stretch,
and then to the Aqua J interchange, and then
N1.
through to the motorway runabout, the new interchange area.
That's N1.
Just look for alternative routes. Don't panic. The MTTD officers have been strategically positioned. There are directional signs. Follow them. Unfortunately, it looks like that stretch of Accra or that area, almost every motorable road is in good condition, and you will reach your destination. In fact, the 207 drivers, that's how I call them, the commercial drivers, those who dodge traffic and then use the shoulders of the road and join anyhow. If the MTTD can look for them, I think traffic will flow. Mr. Thompson, good morning again.
Good morning, Eric. Nice to see you.
Yeah, happy to see you too. You are looking fresh. It looks like everything is going well for you.
I'm learning from you.
Me?
Yes.
Okay, if only you want your stomach to be big, no problem. I can endorse it.
I love your beautiful suit.
Thank you. And thank Abuaje for producing it.
Abuaje, thank you.
Yes.
For making Eric look good.
Yes, I'm looking good. I was told that I shouldn't wear this over this top.
No, it works.
Krasini, he just went to put it on. But people are seeing beyond it.
Yes, it works.
Now, that's on a lighter note. Yesterday, civil society organizations against corruption addressed the news conference. I don't know if you were there, but the central point is about Domlevo. Yeah. I know ASEPA did a lot of work, advocacy against what you thought was unfair to the former Auditor General. I want us to listen to Dr. Kojo Asante. After listening to him, we'll begin a conversation on some of the key concerns he raised. Former Auditor General Daniel Domlevo was finally directed to begin retirement with immediate effect after a long battle with the Nana Akufo-Addo's government, which forced him to proceed on compulsory 167-day leave, a contempt charge against him after then Senior Minister Yao Osafo-Maafo, who was surcharged by the Auditor General for alleged Kroll and Associates scandal, took him to court. Civil society organizations against corruption, in a strongly worded statement, have cited the Supreme Court for complicity in what it describes as purposeful and targeted the unconstitutional forced retirement of former Auditor General Daniel Yao Domlevo. Addressing a news conference yesterday at the head office of the Center for Democratic Development, the CSOs noted with concern the failure of the Apex Court to make pronouncement. Okay, so unfortunately, this report we filed, obviously will bring you the tape on what Dr. Kojo Asante said, but I have, fortunately, excerpts of the statement. While we continue the conversation, we'll show it, but I promise, and sorry for bringing you the news item we did on that particular conversation and not the press conference held by the CDD and the civil society organizations. I'll definitely play it before we wrap up on this show. But you have been following them.
Yeah.
I believe that as we continue the conversation, the slides will show excerpts of the statement that was read. How do you find the trend of events, especially where it looks like everybody seems to be attacking an institution? Supreme Court, in this case, has been put on the spot by the civil society organizations.
Thank you very much, Eric. A very good morning to your cherished viewers. Yesterday, we were with the Auditor General, the outgoing Auditor General, at the Christ the King Catholic Church to honor him. It was a Thanksgiving service for his service to the state. So were there a number of civil society organizations, including Dr. Kojo Asante, Professor Jima Bwodi, were all there to support the Auditor General for his service to the country. I mean, he's a statesman. He's done a lot of work. His work, outside the country, helped several countries to build a very strong system of accountability. So it's a bit unfortunate that this country, where he belongs to, his motherland, he'll be treated in the manner in which he did. It's very unfortunately. And yesterday, it was a very solemn moment for all of us at the church premises. You could see that people look so helpless, and, you know, about how this man has been treated and what this means to the fight against corruption in the country. You know, but he made a very profound statement yesterday that touched a lot of us. He said that we should fear not, because the fight against corruption still ravages on. And of course, we shall fear not. I think that it's important that some of us continue the path which has been set up by Mr. Dombelevo. But Eric, what has happened to the Auditor General is not what has happened to him as a person, that the attack on the office he occupies. And this is quite symbolic. You see that the Auditor General attempts, you know, to apply the laws, to surcharge the senior minister for something he believed that, or for some payment we believe that, you know, he shouldn't have done. This is probably the first time we would have seen that a government official who have needlessly paid monies to an entity for absolutely no work done was being asked by a State Office of Accountability to refund it. The symbolism of that is that anybody who was in a public office, who have seen how the Auditor General have surcharged the senior minister and forced him to refund some money back to the state, would have been very careful and know that, look, if I'm taking any action on behalf of the state and I'm not careful, and I don't ensure there is value for money, I don't ensure that the resources are paid to the right person, then I will also face the same fate which the senior minister is facing. Because if the senior minister has been surcharged, who are you, a public servant? Who are you, a government official who cannot be surcharged? And so it was a very bold move by the Auditor General, and quite, you know, symbolic towards the fight against corruption. He was sending a strong message that, look, this is a fight against corruption, and the laws is going to apply to anybody irrespective of which office you occupy. Unfortunately, the government's response to this was to what has started this whole facade that we're being confronted with now. The government saw it as a political move because Osafo Maafo is at the heart of the presidency, and, you know, the deal which he was involved with that led to his surcharge was involved with the president's cousin, who was also the finance minister, and so there was this attempt to protect, you know, the inner circle of the president. Now, after he has surcharged the senior minister, the government decided to challenge it. Osafo Maafo went to court, filed a suit at the Supreme Court to challenge the powers of the Auditor General to surcharge him. Eric, are you aware that when this matter went to court, it was the chairman of the Audit Service Board, Professor Duajiman, who went to court to represent the senior minister?
The public is now aware of some of these things.
Yes. And these are things you can't even imagine. That the Auditor General surcharges the senior minister. The senior minister goes to court to fight the surcharge by the Auditor General. The matter is called in court, and then the chairman of the Audit Service Board, who supervises the work of the Auditor General, goes to represent the person who has been surcharged by the Auditor General.
Yeah, so just before you continue making your statement, what is on the screen, and a series of them will be appearing on the screen. Obviously, I also spoke about Dr. Kojo Asante. Will be playing or hearing him, but on the screen are excerpts of the statement they presented yesterday on some of the key issues. So they will appear on the screen. You find time to read some of them from time to time while you continue your submission.
So that was a clear, you know, a statement there that, look, the chairman of the Audit Service Board, you know, representing the senior minister meant that he was in total disapproval of the actions taken by the Auditor General. And that is where all those ravage begins. So then immediately after this court issue, then the chairman of the Audit Service Board, set up a committee to investigate the foreign travel of the Auditor General. They went out, they investigated, they found nothing. After that, they contracted a private firm to investigate the Auditor General, which is also a clear violation of the law. It's a clear violation of the law. It is only Parliament that has the jurisdiction to investigate or audit the Auditor General. No private entity have the powers to audit the Auditor General. But
yeah, so we have walked through some of these concerns in the past. The CSOs have issued a joint statement. They are blaming the Supreme Court for not acting expeditiously on the suit filed by Professor Kweku Asare as far back, I think, July, and then there was another one in October. And within that period, because it didn't really rule on whether it was constitutional for the president to ask Domlevo to go on leave and so on, that statement says that what has happened makes that case moot. So beyond that, you are a member of that coalition. Beyond that, what do you anticipate will be the posture and how we relate to some of these institutions?
Well, yes, I think it was unfortunate. And the entire justice administration in this country has always been problematic. People always say that the wind of justice grinds slowly. There is also the saying that justice delayed is justice denied. And so sometimes you are looking to find the clear balance between the wind of justice grinding slowly and justice delaying being justice denied. And so that has been the challenge of our court. And I think that in another forum we'll have the opportunity to discuss the difficulties and then the inefficiencies with our court system and our justice administration system itself. But this brought also to the concerns that have been raised by people that he should challenge his by force retirement also in court. When he was forced to go on leave, we civil society organizations went to court to challenge it. The matter is still in court. The matter has been in court for him to resume his leave, and another action has been taken, in that respect. So it's a very worrying trend that now the court, which was the rather quite friendly alternative or quite, a more efficient alternative for the Auditor General to have used to address any grievance that would have come from this issue, the court has also now become quite problematic, because now you take a matter there and it takes forever to be pronounced on. And so you could see that it is that has emboldened the current decision by the government that, look, yeah, I mean, if we can force you to go on leave, why can't you force you to go on retirement? But then the statement this tells all of us is that Mr. Domlevo, who according to his original age is left with even just 3 months to retire, the government cannot even stand him for the last 3 months in office.
What could be the reason? Because it looks like this fight has been on for a long time. And I've spoken to people here before who say that, look, Domlevo called for it, and if he was scrutinizing any institution or any official, it is equally right for him to be scrutinized, and that exposed what has been made public about his age and whether he's a Ghanaian and so on. And so those fighting for him are looking beyond the reality and only trying to create the impression that government is actually after Domlevo.
I don't think those people who are making those pronouncements really cares about the fight against corruption. And I don't think they know the extent of the impact of the Office of the Auditor General. And I don't think that they are aware that, putting the Auditor General through such actions could rather disable him from carrying on his constitutional duties. And it is that factor that has finally led to his removal from office. You see, sometimes we pretend to play the ostrich when it's not even necessary to play the ostrich. Look, who in this country doesn't know that the Auditor General is out of office today because of the Crowell and Associate issue, which is surcharge the minister. We know. And we know that all these sort of scrutiny and investigations started immediately after that action that he took. So before he actually surcharged the minister, he didn't have age issues. He didn't have issues with his nationality. He didn't have issues with foreign trips. He didn't have issues with the cars he procured. Why then did he begin to have problems with these issues all of a sudden after he has surcharged the senior minister? And so sometimes I find it difficult to understand why people will make such analogy to justify such unwarranted support for the actions of the government. Look, the man is risking his life to do the things which any Auditor General would dare to do. We've had several Auditor Generals in this country. I think that Domolovo has been the most...
I can feel how emotional this sounds to you. But going forward, how do we get rid of it? The president may go ahead to appoint a new Auditor General. How will people perceive such a personality? We have been talking about the fight against corruption. What should we expect from the coalition of civil society organizations on finding better approaches to ensure that that office is not abused and there's real commitment towards fight against the canker?
Well, you see, it is going to be a very difficult one. First of all, you have an Auditor General who was appointed by the previous government. Daniel Domolovo was appointed by the previous government, who have run into such difficulties. Now you have the president bringing in his own Auditor General. It's the same thing that happened with the Electoral Commission. And the first time of President Akufo-Addo, he sacked the EC chairperson and brought in his own EC chairperson. In his second term of office, he has sacked the Auditor General and is going to bring his own Auditor General. Now, I should tell you two things. And for me, I mean, however political you think this may sound, but that's the truth. And I feel that is the truth. What was the first agenda of President Akufo-Addo in his first term? His first term, he was interested in re-election, winning a second term. And the best thing he thought could help him get a second term was to sack the EC chairperson and bring his own EC. And he did that, and he's got a second term. In a second term, he doesn't need re-election. What does he need? And his action that he has taken in at the beginning of his second term should tell us what he needs. In his second term, he has sacked the Auditor General and is going to bring his own Auditor General. So in his second term, it's all going to be our cover-ups. Cover up the mess he created in the first term and the one he's going to be creating in the second term.
Don't we have institutions like the Public Accounts Committee or former appointees who are in Parliament who should be in a position to get some relevant information beyond what may be presented officially to checkmate government? Because that's supposed to be their job. There are committees of Parliament.
But Public Accounts Committee, the primary document for Public Accounts Committee is Auditor General's report.
No, what I'm saying is that based on the suspicion you are raising, we have other arms of government. We have other institutions of state. These institutions of state can also help the cause if they will make available information that may be different from what, in your opinion, and as you are conjecturing, could be the reason why they want to replace the Auditor General.
Eric, you would have to understand the importance of the work of the Auditor General. He is the only authority with the powers to audit our state department and agencies accounting. State, department, ministries, and agencies. He is the only person with that authority. We civil society organizations or Parliament, by request for documents and by bills and other memoranda submitted to them, could have access to some information. Those information is not an audited information. It's just basic information which perhaps sometimes you could read, you could smell corruption, but an audit hasn't been carried on it to ascertain the veracity of the matter. It is the audit report that tells you that this is what you were given, this is how much you spent, this is what you should have left, this is what you should have done with this money. Have you done it? Did you, to what extent? Did you get value for money? Did you spend it in the interest of the state? What? So these clear parameters are set, you know, by the audit report.
I see a desperate situation through the response you are giving, that because the Auditor General may be replaced by somebody who is going to assist the system to steal from the state and cover up, if that is actually what will happen, because I still want to leave it open for the public to judge. There is no other institution. What about the Right to Information Act? It is there, and people can access it beyond what the Auditor General will make available. The committees of Parliament know the approvals when the budget is read, and they know specific allocations to departments, agencies, and so on. And so there are other conduits through which we can find out where the public purse has been expended.
Yes, Eric, the fight against corruption is not one-rooted. There are several other avenues. We have journalists do their own investigations, they unearth corruption, civil society do their work, Parliament through invitation of ministers and appearances on the committee level also are able to unearth those information. It's a collective fight. But all these issues are centered around the work which the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, which is a representative of the people, do. And I'm saying that the primary document which they rely on for their activities is the Auditor General's report. So it is difficult for them to go outside the Auditor General if they invite a minister to Parliament, or a CEO to Parliament, or a DCE or an MCE to Parliament to answer questions. It is based on what the Auditor General has submitted to them. They cannot go and take anything outside which is not in the Auditor General's report, so, and ask them questions.
I want to save myself. You know, I called for Kwadwo Asante's tape, and we were playing a report. It is ready now, and I want us to listen to him. It is intuitive because they represented the coalition, and they make some profound statements in this report. Let's listen to Kwadwo Asante.
Orchestrated queries and decisions taken by our Audit Service Board, acting in concert with the Office of the President, and the President's unilateral decision to forcibly retire Mr. Demlovo on the same day he returned to post from an equally forced accumulated leave confirms our belief that Mr. Demlovo has been unfairly targeted. The coalition notes with regret that the Supreme Court is yet to determine two suits relating to the constitutionality of the Auditor General's forced accumulated leave by the President, which was filed by Professor Kweku Asare and 9 CSOs in July and October 2020 respectively. It is a wake-up call to all well-meaning Ghanaians to be citizens and not spectators, to speak up and not stay silent when such manifestly unfair treatment is meted out to individuals who are trying to do their job, and to do so with integrity and doing it in the public interest. This is one of the things that we complain about almost on a daily basis. Now, when we find people who are trying to help promote the public interest, you know, we do this to them. Which young people are going to follow suit to do what is right? If we want social and economic transformation, silence is not an option. And after 64 years of independence, we owe it to this generation to chart a true democratic path that is inclusive and meritocratic. It's important to understand that all the while as the impasse between Mr. Demlovo and Professor Diagman was going on, Professor Diagman was acting as secretary to a cabinet committee conducting investigation of forensic audits into key transactions undertaken by the previous Mahama administration. Now, that said committee, in carrying out its investigations, contracted some private firms to assist with the investigations. Among these firms were Kroll Associates. Now, it is curious how the board chairman of an audit service, a state agency responsible for independently auditing all public accounts, will act as a secretary to a cabinet committee which was conducting forensic audits into transactions initiated and entered by a previous administration without being engaged in a conflict of interest or a conflict of duties. And it was clear that the prolonged unprofessional entanglement that the board chair had placed himself in with the executive was going to lead to a clash. I think the only analogy that you can think of is the chairman of the Judicial Council or somebody like that working for the Attorney General. It's so odd, you know. It could easily have been resolved if that's what they wanted the board chair to do. He can leave as a board chair and serve the cabinet committee. But to be in this conflict of interest, there was always going to be a problem of interference because the Auditor General audits all public accounts.
So that was Dr. Kojo Asante, is the Director in charge of policy and advocacy at the Center for Democratic Development. In fact, that's where the press conference took place yesterday. I'm happy you've listened to him, and he's raised issues, institutions of state. If we don't speak out today, then we are doomed. You listen to him, brief comment, and then I can ask follow-up questions.
Yes, I think he said it all. And these are the issues that I was raising initially about the serious conflict of interest role played by the chairman of the Audit Service Board, Professor Du Adjeman, who has been at the center of this attack on the Auditor General. And it's worrying because he's a former Auditor General. Okay, he's a former Auditor General. And for a former Auditor General to, assist in ousting somebody who is occupying the same office he previously occupied, I think it's a great disservice to this country.
What is going wrong? Because yesterday at the church service, Daniel Domlevo made it public. In fact, in the pulpit, when he spoke, he said that in December, when he was appointed as Auditor General, he had a call from Nana Akufo-Addo, who gave him the assurance that he is not going to witch hunt him and he should accept the post. So why would everything change? In fact, you have narrowed it to Osafo Maafo. But if Akufo-Addo, even in spite of the suspicion I've seen out there on social media that Mahama appointed him at the last minute and therefore it could have been a political motive, at least that commitment and assurance that go ahead and grab the job should have lived through. So what could have gone wrong?
Look, let me set the record straight. The former President Mahama did not appoint the Auditor General as a last-minute move. The tenure of the previous Auditor General has expired.
When?
Has expired before the elections. Before the 2016 elections.
But the fact is that, and I'm not disputing, or I don't have any issue if somebody is appointed even a day before handing over. But what is creating the suspicion that the other side is using is that the appointment was strategic, just to use him to make this government unpopular.
No, how strategic? That is very unfounded. It's not as if there was an Auditor General and the former president sacked the Auditor General and brought his own Auditor General there. No. An Auditor General was there, his tenure has expired. And by law, the president is supposed to appoint somebody.
And somebody was appointed.
And this call yesterday, yes, Mr. Domlevo spoke about the call from President Akufo-Addo at his Thanksgiving service. And this call from the president was an assurance in good faith, but later it turned out to be an assurance in bad faith. Look, there's no way the President Akufo-Addo could have done anything. The law did not require the president to sack the Auditor General. He has been appointed. He was supposed to serve his tenure of office until his retirement is due or until his office has expired, his tenure has expired. But I think that maybe that call from the president thought that, okay, Mr. Domlevo will have that because he has struck that relationship with him. He will not, do certain things to his officials or people who are close to him. But Mr. Domlevo rose above that and said, look, this is my job as an Auditor General. And irrespective of who is found short of the law, I must crack their whip.
Okay, so let's move on. And maybe this will be the last question and take a response from you. Kojo Asante says, speak out. Kojo Asante says, silence will spell doom for us. Kojo Asante says, the youth must show interest in what is happening and help to change the course. Silence brings to mind other institutions that perhaps can add their voice to bring pressure on government, because the CSOs, this is not the first time, the JPA deal, you made all the noise against the JPA deal, government didn't budge until maybe the special prosecutor came out with his report before we saw the attempt to pull it out, because the former president has spoken extensively about it, civil society organizations had written a collective letter and so on. Now we have the TUC, we have the National House of Chiefs, we have the Council of State, we have SHRAJ, we have the Special Prosecutor's Office, we have the Ghana Bar Association. Now, why is it that it looks as if nobody is seeing the concerns the CSOs are raising? Is it that you have your own interest because Dom Levo falls on your platform fighting against corruption, so you are fighting for him and others don't see the things you are seeing wrongly?
We are not fighting for Mr. Dom Levo as a person. We are fighting to protect the office of the
So why you alone and all the institutions are mentioned, from TUC, for example, should be interested in this? Why is it that they're quiet?
Yes, I mean,
you have SHRAJ there, no official statement. They are waiting for somebody to petition them.
Yes.
You have the National House of Chiefs. Samuel Kudjeto is speaking as a member of the Council of State, and nobody seems to be seeing something wrong. Why only CSOs?
Yes, and it's a very valid question that you are asking. We haven't heard so much also from the main opposition party, the NDC, as well.
On Dom Levo's?
Yes. I think that they must also show, they should show so much interest in that. I mean, I think that maybe the outcome of the elections has brought a lot of momentum down. But I think that there is an opportunity for them to revive, you know, the actions as a political party. The NDC must take keen interest in that. I mean, apart from that, the ordinary Ghanaians, the citizens, and I think that it's a larger problem with our citizens' interest in national issues, and most of the time, sometimes I want to blame it on maybe the understanding level of the ordinary Ghanaian and what the ordinary Ghanaian's interest is and how they understand the issues. The people who are a bit enlightened or educated enough to understand the issues are also maybe afraid to speak out.
What?
I don't know. Maybe afraid of political victimization at their workplaces, wherever, you know, because of economic conditions. People have to survive. But I think that it is because of that maybe individual protection that we seek for ourselves and not risk going out there that has, you know, emboldened some of these actions. We must collectively come out and speak together.
Does it suggest that the average Ghanaian is not angry enough and ready to join the fight to ensure that we improve on our governance?
The average Ghanaian is angry. If you have private conversations with the average Ghanaian is very, very angry about what is happening in the country. But the average Ghanaian is also hungry. The average Ghanaian also have issues concerning his safety.
So people are most likely to be influenced. That's so, what you are trying to say.
No, I'm saying that people have a choice. When people have a choice to choose between what they will eat and criticizing the government, they will choose what they will eat.
Now, I see something that is creeping in. If you look at Togo, you look at Uganda, we witnessed what happened in Zimbabwe under Robert Mugabe. You look at Cameroon, you look at even the Equatorial Guinea, you realize that most of those countries experienced systems which made it impossible for people to speak out. They were generally suppressed. And most of those regimes had the opportunity to twist the arms of institutions like the EC to rule for decades. Is that where we are heading towards?
It looks more like it. It looks more like it. It looks like the situation we are experiencing could even be worse than what has happened in these countries. And Ghanaians will react to it. Ghanaians have always been slow in reacting to these things. If you look at history, Ghanaians have particularly been slow in reacting, you know, to these things. We are naturally peaceful people. We take things in and we swallow things. But eventually the Ghanaian will revolt. And I don't wish for that day because I know that it will be good.
Let me read a few messages because they have also been waiting to hear their own voice. This one says, Auditor General Dom Levo's forced retirement. I'm so surprising. I'm so surprised that TUC seems to be very silent on the issue. Anyway, well done, Mr. Domlevo. You have played your part, and posterity will judge you by your good work. Every meaning Ghanaian knows that you are leaving office with a clean conscience, and your name will one day be written in gold. From Ablade, Ifyokuma Zongo sent this. Ablade, you seems to be a loyal viewer. We'll commend you and send you a special parcel one day. Good morning for the good work. It didn't come with a name. Please add your names and where the messages are coming from. It helps us to appreciate the places where all of you are. Correct scores, Zakaria Sunyanyi writes, the MPP and Nana Akufo-Addo are lying. This is the true state of Ghana. The ordinary people are suffering. Price of goods are up. Doomsaw is back. Insecurity is high. New voters' ID card does not work in any transaction. Corruption is killing us under Nana Akufo-Addo. Lawless government and the lies, and goes on and on. And it talks, the last paragraph says, you are too incompetent to be good managers. When John Mahama, the CD dollar rate was far better than incompetent and Akufo-Addo 5.7. I don't understand. But at the end of the day, you are saying Mahama built a number of hospitals, and Akufo-Addo promised 88, Yamutu, and how much more? 101. This text message is from Eben in Kwabenya. It says President Akufo-Addo claimed to be incorruptible and a public purse protector, but not knowing is opposite. He's opposite. He took over when our debt was 120 billion cedis, and now it's 280 billion cedis, but still claims he's the best management or manager of the economy. Meanwhile, he can't even boast of a major development. What a liability leading a corrupt government when we put on us. It's not clear. Never again, Mr. President. This one came from Eben in Kwabenya. This text message is from Bosheba Amisti in Goso Zongo. President Akufo-Addo will fulfill his promises in his second term of office, so Ghanaians should support him to accomplish his mission. My regards to Evans Opoku Bobie, a Sunafo North MP, and Yao Boabing, Osei Boabing, a Sunafo North MC, sent the message greets them. We are sick and tired of your hypocrisy. Have you heard Wuntumi TV interviewing NDC man? Me, I'm not your NDC because you are full of your own interest. No name. I don't understand the text message either, but at least we've read them for you. I'm down blow from Brimso Apeusika. The sonor address delivered by the president was debated yesterday. Listening to the contents was very interesting. Kudos to the minority MPs, especially Honorable Jinapo and Adongo, for letting us know the reason why recent power outages is pervasive and why President couldn't mention the total public debt and corruption. Corruption has ruined the state coffers to the edge of HIPIC. The $100 million President wants to use to develop the nation isn't new to Ghanaian economy. Last year, we spent in excess of that amount. I end by quoting Domlevo, corruption is not fought alone or quietly. My regards to Dr. Nanama Brown Kluche. This one came from I'm Down Blue from Bremso in Apeusika. Means I'll just read a few more, maybe two more, and then we go. This one says, the government should deal with the one who planned this Apam beach disaster because he or she doesn't respect the COVID-19 protocols. It didn't come. Okay, the name is here. The name is by Zengaro from Dodi Ajade. This text message says, good morning TV XYZ and Wizard TV. The State of the Nation address lacks substance and must be considered as a poem. Francis Kofi from Lower Manya sent this text message. This one, Abdul Basit, Zongo Pioneer in Kumasi. We have had working president, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, who always want to keep Ghana and Ghanaians safe and is bringing another 70 million COVID-19 vaccines this year. This year budget is going to be extraordinary. An extraordinary one to push our economy up. Domlevo should be in jail by now because his birth certificate is the evidence to show that he's having a criminal mind. One birth certificate shows he's a Ghanaian, another shows he's a Togolese, and it goes on and greets one Honorable Boniface Abubakar Sadiq and Kwame Owusu. The last one, he says, good morning, Eric. And he says, greetings to everybody. and he wants to talk to me after the show, we will. I'll call you. Thanks for sending your text messages. Mr. Thomas, we have some few minutes to wrap up. The State of the Nation address has been delivered. We are warming up to hear what Oseche Mensah Bonsu will tell us tomorrow as the true state of the economy and the fiscal policy lined up for the rest of this year. What are your expectations?
Where is the finance minister, first of all?
He's recuperating in the US.
A finance minister who has not been vetted and approved by parliament. The president is waiting for him to recuperate before he starts work. So after the budget is read by Chairman Sabonsu, who is going to administer the budget? I say Chairman Sabonsu. So I don't know. So the Ministry of Finance is going to be on hold to wait for somebody whose nomination is even being challenged. I mean, clearly it's a bit worrying situation. I mean, is it because he's the cousin of the president? I mean, Eric, if you are nominated for finance minister and you've been indisposed, you know, you've not been able to go through your vetting, you're outside the country, you're not nowhere close to the jurisdiction, will the president still wait for you to recover? I'm sure by now somebody would have been appointed long ago. So please.
But you are not privy to exactly what is wrong with him and why the president is very optimistic he's coming back, and therefore
it doesn't matter.
Must move on.
It doesn't matter. The guy has been indisposed for only God knows how long. So he's not fit. Apart from he not being fit in terms of, you know, in terms of the discharge of his duties, he's not fit.
But that's temporary.
Physically. No, I mean, the guy is not fit for the job. Let's appoint a new person.
If you say he's not fit for the job, you are not being fair to anybody who should fall sick today.
It's not.
You have been sick before. You were admitted after the elections.
It's not sick.
Nobody could have said that because you were on admission, you are unfit and therefore you should not lead ASEPA.
Eric, it's not fit in terms of health. We have submitted a number of things to Parliament, which we believe that, based on that record alone, he's not fit to occupy that position. So we've already challenged his nomination. It's not because he's not well.
Do you suspect that all these things are being played out to let him escape the vetting, but the budget to be read and government may have it approved by the House and it will begin its business?
Well, you still need a finance minister to administer it. And unless the finance minister has taken an oath of office, has been vetted by Parliament and approved in that respect. What I'm suspecting perhaps maybe is that somebody who has already been approved by the House may be asked to act as finance minister.
There's already somebody who is a caretaker minister, Charles Edubuahene, who was the former deputy finance minister, was asked to occupy that seat.
He has not.
But he's not a minister of state. He's just acting.
No, but he has not been vetted by Parliament to occupy that position.
Could it even have been appropriate on the back of the submission that if the man is sick, we should acknowledge it and move on? So the president could have as well said Charles Edubuahene should go in as the Minister for Finance because he's a deputy for 4 years and he's still there as we speak.
So bring him to Parliament, let Parliament vet him. Well, we can't put everything on hold for 3 weeks. We don't even know we don't even know when the guy is coming back, and we are all sitting now. Somebody have to come and read a budget, which he is not going to administer. Who prepared the budget? When the finance minister has been away, who prepared the budget?
I see a challenge that may have to be addressed holistically as a country. Ghana is 64 years, and I believe that many people would have loved to see Ghana building on the successes if we want to limit ourselves to the fourth constitutional republic. And so I see desperation pointing to no clarity on the way forward based on some of these recent things. What would you recommend as we begin to wrap up?
Yes, Eric, we just have to take a critical look at our governance structure and our own setup, and look at what the deficiencies are, Eric. Today, if we look around us, what is our deficiencies and where do we want to head to? Eric, 29 years ago, China felt that their population is too much and they needed They need somewhere where some of their citizens will live. All the leaders in China came together. They looked at the problem that was confronting them and they took a decision. They said, look, by 2020, we should have at least 20 million Chinese in Africa living and plying their trade in Africa. So what is the plan? Let's go to the African government. Let's go to Addis Ababa. Let's renovate the head office of the African Union. Let's give support, to African students through scholarship schemes and what have you. Let's work with the Africans. Let's trade with them. Let's support them. Let's give them loans.
And they have taken over from the US.
And they have. And I'm saying that it all boils down to one, sitting back, looking at the challenges that you are confronted with, and having a plan and a vision to look into the future and have a vision to address it.
With the 2 minutes left, Sam Okudzeto, in his interview, which has been packaged by Daily Graphic on page 16, and there's something captured under political interest. It says, the legal luminary asserted that the practice where the opposition political parties always opposed a government because they were in opposition is not the right approach to the practice of a healthy democracy. IDEC has been very consistent with IEA in asking us to look for what will represent a government of national unity. In view of all these hiccups, that's how I want to describe them, would you subscribe to what Okudzeto says as a genuine concern and what IDEC is proposing as the best approach Ghana should be thinking now?
No, I totally disagree with him. First of all, that competition between political parties is good. Only it has been reduced only when it gets too much, especially when it gets to the floor of parliament and issues are reduced, to partisan considerations. Then you have a problem. I think what we need to do rather is to find a balance between partisanship and then patriotism and then thinking about the country. Let's find a balance. Yes, of course, political parties are there to serve their interest. But if we have a nationalistic vision, which is there, a laid down national plan, and it all boils down to what I was saying earlier. When we have the plan becomes a blueprint, the roadmap for where we are going to as a country. Every government that comes to power knows that this is the blueprint of the country. This is where we want to get to in the next 10, 20 years. The person in opposition also knows, because when he was in government, he knew that this was the plan. Only you may disagree in terms of how to get there, but you know that this is the national vision. And so it becomes easier to work together. I think the problem we are having is that we are in a situation where every political party comes with their own agenda. That agenda may not sit well with the people who are on the other side. And so obviously when it doesn't sit well with them, they are going to oppose it. They are going to come against it. It doesn't mean they hate the government. It means that they have a different ideology in terms of how to
and they want the public to buy into it.
Yes. And so what we need to do rather is to focus on getting a national plan on where we want to get as a country, and everybody who comes to power must stick to the national plan.
Thank you. Mensa Thompson is the executive director of ASEPA. He's well known. He's been championing the cause of good governance. He's been my guest in the studio. I also spoke to Yapreko, who's the deputy communications director of the NPP, who also clarified issues based on how government sees things and the State of the Nation address is concerned. This text message says, "Good morning, Eric. The retirement of Dom Levo was planned by Nana Akufo-Addo so that he and his ministers will loot the nation." From Isaac Blay in Takoradi. Yesterday, I was monitoring TV, and I took an inspiration from what China is doing, because the CPC, and they have another arm of the political structure of that country, which meet simultaneously to plan the future of China. They have set a 30-year goal to virtually annex Hong Kong and bring it back to the mainland as part of what they do. And they are thinking about how China will overcome the world, one, in terms of finances, in terms of military might, and in terms of domination, to make it, at length, the superpower of the world. They are thinking of beating the US, and they have done it consistently. when they wanted to change the face of Beijing, I know very well the strategy they put in place. Now you go to Beijing, you go to Guangzhou, you go to Sichuan, you go to many parts of China, and you see that they are thinking for their country and not thinking for themselves. As we wrap up, on behalf of Nana Abena Sewa and the production team at Wazor TV and TVXYZ, I want to say, let's think Ghana. And irrespective of any form of intimidation, speak out. Society will bless you. Good morning. See you again tomorrow at 6:30.